Hi, I'm Mark with the Watch Society. Today, we have an H. Moser Cie Pioneer Center set. It's a beautiful watch, but the story of how it got here, I think is one really worth telling. So let's get into it. So Heinrich Moser, the man that H. Moser Cie is named after, had a family business which was taking care of the public clocks in Schaffhausen, Switzerland. Generations of watchmakers in the family took care of these clocks. But when it became his turn at the age of 21 to take over the job, they said, no, you're too young. 21 isn't old enough to take care of these clocks. And Heinrich Moser did not take too kindly to this. He said, screw you guys, I'm out then. He went to St. Petersburg, Russia, decided to set up his own watch shop and create his own brand, H. Moser. And wow, did he do a great job. It became the brand synonymous with high quality watches in Russia. He set up the entire watchmaking industry to build everything from scratch, and he sold 500,000 watches in Russia in the 1830s and 1840s and 1850s. That's an incredible accomplishment. And instead of being really petty about it and staying over there, he actually came back to Schaffhausen. He came back to the city that said, no, we don't want you, that you're too young, you can't do the job, we don't trust you. Proved them wrong, made his fortune, and came back and then invested in the city. He built the first hydroelectric dam for the city to bring power to the city. He built businesses. He actually invested in not only the watchmaking side of the city, but also invested in businesses and infrastructure and actually help build Schaffhausen to the city it is today. That's a statement for somebody to say, we don't want you. A city to go, we don't trust you to do the job. To go out, prove them wrong, come back, and then make your home even better than it was. That's impressive. In fact, one of the buildings he built was for small and medium-sized businesses to get their start. And one of those businesses in there was IWC. The founder of IWC was actually an apprentice and somebody who learned from Heinrich Moser. Just to give more of a family tree for what Heinrich Moser did for the watch industry in Schaffhausen. As time went on, Heinrich Moser involved his family, so H. Moser became H. Moser Cie. And eventually, the company ran into the quartz crisis, and like everybody else, or most everybody else in the watch industry, it kind of fell apart. And this is obviously generations after Heinrich Moser passed away. But his great-grandson in 2002 brought the company back with some help. And it existed for a few years before it needed more investment. And that's when the Milan family came in. And the Meylan family came in, put the money in, and took over H. Moser. So the Milan family aren't just a bunch of rich investors who decided to suddenly get in the watch industry. They are themselves a storied watchmaking family. The original workshop that belonged to the family goes back to the 1740s. But the real patriarch of the historical watchmaking comes from the mid-1800s in C.H. Milan. This is a watchmaker who developed his own patents for a single movement that was a split-second chronograph minute repeater. An incredible piece of engineering that was actually built by Walton Watches, which is a rare Swiss-American high-complication watch that was produced. And he continued to be famous for his chronographs and these very high complicated pieces. Besides just having patents for great high-end watches, C.H. Milan had his own watchmaking company and would make watches for people like Cartier, Tiffany, Van Cleef & Arpels, big high-end names of the time and today still. Eventually, his watches were sought after for the chronographs and became very popular in Italy when Audemars Piguet became a partner with them, and C.H. Milan and Audemars Piguet were slowly integrated until Audemars Piguet bought them completely out, and the Milan watchmaking name disappeared. But they didn't disappear from watchmaking, because then you have Georges Milan, two generations later, who ran a small company that was founded by some friends of C.H. Milan, which was Audemars Piguet. From 1987 to 2009, George ran Audemars Piguet, a time when Audemars Piguet went from surviving like most watch brands were to being one of the top independent watchmakers in the world. Definitely one of the top 5 and still are watch brands, period, when it comes to sales and prestige and how well known they are. Fantastic job of running that company for 22 years. But when he left, he wasn't done with watchmaking. He decided to get together, and him and his sons invested in a company that he was consulting with, which was H. Moser Cie. And with that, the next generation of Milans continued in the watchmaking industry, running the H. Moser Cie brand. And that brings us to 2012, when the Meylans put a modern touch on the Moser brand. What the Meylans brought to Moser was a clean aesthetic, a look that can be seen across the room, but at the same time, doesn't have a whole lot to it. It's known for bright dials, these bright dégradé or fumé dials that can be are easily noticeable for being different. They're not trying to shy away, and if they ever go dark, they go Vanta black dark. These dials are meant to be the showpiece. When you turn the watch over, you can see that simplicity stops at the dial because the movement is well finished, beautifully done, and that tungsten rotor is easily able to wind that watch up to its full 72-hour power reserve. The case is interesting. It's not just a plain, simple case. It has an indented coin edge on the sides. It's got this beautiful, large dome across the 42.8 millimeters of the watch. And it's a big watch, the big dial that really has a statement, but at the same time wears easily. It's a masterstroke for how Moser is able to create watches that are at the same point loud yet easy to wear. And if 42.8 millimeters sounds big to you, it doesn't wear the size, but they also make a 40 millimeter version in different colors. It's very much the entry level for Moser. It's 120 meters of water resistant, a very comfortable rubber strap, and overall looks great and is the kind of culmination of these watchmaking history. And you can see that in the movement and this modern touch that the Milan sons, the brothers actually, bring to the watch. And it's great. But in my personal opinion, this is very much the entry point. Moser should really be appreciated by what they do beyond this. Perpetual calendars that are incredibly beautiful, but at the same time simple. And I mean that simple as in they're easy to set, they're easy to read, they're not this jumbled, garbled mess of a bunch of date windows like you see from older brands like Patek. No, the design language is meant to be modern and sleek and still complicated and still beautifully done, but without being so busy. I think the Pioneer Center Seconds is a great entry point into the brand. But if you really want to appreciate everything Moser has to offer, I think you need to go up market. I think you need to look at the Perpetual calendars. I think you need to look at their tourbillons. I think you need to look at the Streamliner and see what they can do when taking a modern sports watch look to a more extreme angle. Though personally, I love this watch and I'll wear it all day long. It really is the entry point, but it isn't where you should stop in a journey through the Moser line. What do you think of the Pioneer Center Seconds? Is that your favorite watch from Moser? Do you prefer a different time-only sport watch? Or if you could have any Moser, which one would it be? Let us know in the comments and have a good one.